Yeah, the word I was like the words I was going to use for that. I'm not sure if they're radio appropriate. I'm not sure if we're like censored.
We're not.
Okay,
Right.
I was going to be like gender fuckery.
Gender fuckery.
Yeah, gender fuckery is I think is a large part of our brand.
Amazing. Where does that come from for the both of you? Why is that important for you to kind of have that come across in your performances?
Right. Well, we're both non-binary people, and we both do drag and then femme presenting burlesque, and so I feel like it was a natural thing to get put into the performance. But then also, I think that that's kind of one of the important messages we're trying to get forth in a lot of our acts is just the spectrum of gender. You know, we're trying to like our last act, or the act that we do most often, our signature at the moment. Like I'm femme presenting and Imogen is more masc presenting, but we try and like switch like what the sexual roles that we'd be expected to play are. Like we just try and like mess with it and do more like gender performance stuff.
So like power dynamics kind of switching,
Yeah.
fluctuating,
Totally.
more fluid.
Yeah, and it's just sort of working within like looking at existing like stereotypes of what is masc and what is femme, and then combining those things, inverting those things, and subverting those things, and just the wide spectrum that is gender and that is sexuality. Like there's so much within that. There's so much within that to like mix and match and just have a good time with.
Apart. What do you think like the issues are with kind of really holding strictly and holding fastly to traditional like ideas of gender, of the two genders? What do you think the like what's the word I'm thinking of?
Limitation.
Yeah, like
I mean, live your best life. If you're like super comfortable in your life as you're living and how you're presenting it, keep at it. But it's just, for me, I sort of see it, if you are immediately shutting out options, you're restricting possibilities. It's that thing. It's like eating food. How do you know you don't like something if you haven't tried it? But it doesn't mean you're obligated to try anything or do anything, but it's just more like being open to the possibility that somebody might like to try this. And like, you don't have to if you don't want to, and that goes with like gender and sexuality and snacks.
And also
like,
the most
so
important topic.
But yeah, I think it's just like, you just need to be open to the possibility of seeing what's out there in the world.
Yeah.
And also like, if you were being really present with somebody, you know, like I feel like, how do I word myself? If you're assuming anything about anybody, then you're not necessarily having a full interaction with that person. It's like, do you ever like meet someone and you get a crush on them, and then you have like a whole relationship with them in your head, and by the next time you're talking to them, you're not even really talking to the actual person. You know, you're talking to like something you've created of them, and you're not there to actually like get to learn who they are and how wonderful they could be, because you've already like built up a dream version. And I feel like we do that to each other all the time. Everyone with gender stuff is like, people see you in a certain way, or that, you know, I see someone in a certain way, and like if you're assuming things, then you're not actually like, you know, learning who they truly are and truly having the interaction, the amazing interaction that you could be having with them.
Yeah. I feel like that happens a lot for specifically someone who's femme presenting.
Yeah.
Like people assume female.
Totally.
Like if somebody's kind of has an androgynous look or like short hair or something like that, people are kind of more open to the idea of them being gender fluid or gender non-binary or whatnot. But a femme presenting person, I feel like people are always like she, her right off the bat without asking.
No, totally.
You
like
know?
when my hair was short, people were really open to using they pronouns with me.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I like grew it back out,
they're
people
like, girl.
are like, yeah, and they like kind of argue with you about it. They're like, no, like I have a hard time with that with you. I don't see you like that. And people like actually say that, and they're like, nope, I'm gonna use this. I won't. Yeah. And it's super offensive because like, you know, your fashion can change. Like there's a lot of played you can do with fashion, and it has really nothing to do with your inner identity.
Yeah, exactly. That's super important to say, like how you present doesn't necessarily dictate, what gender you identify with at all. Not even a little
and
bit.
it's like also putting this binary on fashion that I find is a massive
Which is so
shame. Yeah.
It's
limiting.
Again, we're saying with like the limits of kind of being so strict. It's like, you don't think you can wear pink because you're a boy? How sad for you. What else are you missing out on in
that
life?
You secretly want to do, but you feel isn't
like show your emotions, for example. Like, how fucking sad. Like that you're afraid. The fear is there because they'll look girly or gay if we're talking about like a het dude, cis dude, afraid to look gay. It's like, oh, how sad.
Yeah, and then even like you can like bounce it the other way, like where like people feel the need to like, like I felt the need in the past to look more masculine than how I wanted to look, so that people would accept that, or like people who feel like they can't like be seen as queer enough for things like that in the queer community.
Yeah,
like all of these things are not allowing people to be their best self.
Yeah, I always had the question for myself because I went by, I pretty much still do say bi for myself.
Yeah.
But it was, and why I've kind of always stuck with that term. First, I'm old. Second, it was always the question of, well, am I queer enough to say I'm queer?
And you're queer.
Yeah. If you say you're queer, if you feel
queer.
queer, you're queer.
Yeah.
That's bottom line. Yeah. Like, do you, so in your performance, what do you kind of hope to let people know about gender through like the type of kind of gender fuckery that you two do?
I feel a lot of it, especially like using clown specifically as a medium to present sexuality and gender, is we're not really subtle about what we're presenting. It's like pretty heavy-handed, but a lot of it is just, especially with things like gender and sexuality, especially how I view them, where it's like it can be a joke, and it can be in the sense of that it can be light, it can be fun. It doesn't have to be
a loaded,
so loaded, so rigorous, so intense. And there are moments where absolutely these things do need to be serious and rigorous, but for the most part, like in a day-to-day conversation, like, why can't gender be this colorful explosion of confetti, and why can't sexuality be this like spectrum of animals and animal crackers and rainbows and so on and so forth?
Because that's my whole thing with bedpost as well. Like, obviously there are definitely very serious, loaded, heavy conversations to have when it comes with people's relationship with their own sexuality and whatnot. But on the other hand, it's like it can also be fun, and not that it should be fun for everyone or anything like that.
There's a
but
time and a
it's
place.
like, there's time and place for everything. But it's it's the positivity aspect of, the sex positivity aspect that I'm always like very eager to like perpetuate.
Yeah.
Just because it's going to, by coming from a sex positive mindset, it's just going to welcome more people in, and expose, inspire, give insight to more people when you present it in a certain way, in a certain context. Yeah. Do you find that with your performing as well? Yeah. You'll reach more people kind of through.
Yeah, like an interesting experience. Earlier this past winter, we were fortunate enough to be invited to be part of the Bi Visibility Cabaret at Buddies and Bad Times Theater, which was absolutely wonderful.
Awesome.
And we got there. Yeah, it was like the best. But all the other artists that were performing had these really beautiful, serious, intense like performance pieces. And we're like, we brought dick balloons. But like, I think that's why it was really important for us to realize that like we were incredibly valid alongside them, and that like what we were creating, Katie Sly, who curated that, like it definitely gave me the confidence that like what we were creating is reading the way we want it to, and does have
it has the equal amounts of of validity and importance to it, just because it's being presented.
Just because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean like there's still, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So like messages are still coming through.
Yeah, it's still giving the same message. It's still, but just presenting it in a different way. Yeah.